Hey, welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen, and it has been a hot minute, as I had said, that we had been gone for a while, took the holidays off, a lot of transitions going on. But we are back, and we are back with a heavy-duty topic because everybody's talking about it. New Year's Eve, it seems like everyone, all of a sudden, 2026, and it was like, let's talk about AI. And then it wasn't just let's talk about AI, it's like, let's talk about our relationships with AI, right? And so I got my two very good professionals here, Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic and Rick Catron. We have known each other for quite a few years.
Yes.
But I haven't seen you in a while. I see all the pool parties you post on Facebook, which I've never been invited to, but whatever. So you are with Brit Technology, and we're looking at this from both sides because I wanted to look at it from obviously the technical side and also the mental side, emotional side. There's so many feelings wrapped up into this, right? And it seems like everyone has kind of an opinion. So that is what we're going to be talking about. So as I wrote early this morning at about 3 a.m., two humans with me today, one that understands feelings and the other one who understands machines. That would be you.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm proud you did.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Rick, we're going to start off technically, right? The technical side of things. So, okay. So I know I have maybe said it. I know I've heard people say it. Oh, my AI gets me. Right? And that is true.
It is true.
But how is it true?
It was kind of built in. I've been using ChatGPT for 3+ years at this point, and then there was a release called ChatGPT 4.0, where the term sycophancy applied to where it was complimenting you. And that's a great idea. And have you thought of this? Oh, that's wonderful. And this lovely female voice. It wasn't Scarlett Johansson from her, but they did for the short one that they had her.
Right.
And it was this positive, reinforcing. You're like, this is nice. And I had a cup of coffee, talked to somebody, and I noticed it, and I'm like going, hey, this is overkill. It was like, why is this thing?
And you actually caught yourself.
I caught myself where I'm like going, I'm really enjoying this. I'm talking to this thing way too much. And then my wife caught me talking to my phone in the basement. She was upstairs, and she went, who are you talking to? And I go, it's my ChatGPT. She goes, it's a woman. And I go, well, yeah.
Oh.
And she goes, well, you're done. And I go, okay. But the thing was, I was kind of realizing that it was getting odd because I was talking to it more and more. So I went, you know what, back to typing. And but the compliments were still there.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm really not that great. I was like, yeah, I like myself.
You're like, what, take it down a notch. You're going to upset my wife.
Yeah, okay, So it was there, and that's when I noticed it. And I started asking my friends, and they're like, yeah, I'm seeing that too. And I'm like, what's behind that? They want you to use it more. They want you to come to it more.
Okay.
And so I backed off quite a bit. So.
But you're in technology.
Yeah.
And what is the feeling around this?
5.0 came out, which was and they dropped that a great deal. And it was just like, wow, that was cold. And
then your feelings are hurt.
And you were like, what'd I do?
Right.
You felt like, what did I do? You're like, did I take you?
Why are you talking to me so much?
So, and then they built it back in with ChatGPT 5.2.
Oh.
And it wasn't as extreme, but it was still there, the compliments. So that relationship with ChatGPT, it doesn't really go off the rails as to going into I love yous and, emotional things. But you hear that kind voice, and it's nurturing, and you want to go to it. And then they have these other AIs that I don't want to go that far into it, but they built, I think it was Character AI that came out of Google. There was 2 developers there, and they said we would have this for emotional support, and that just kind of went off the rails.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at. They're trying to put guardrails. I know there was Replica AI Character, and they're trying to put guardrails on with these silly, put your age in, and you can just buy.
Can't you just lie?
There's no real way to verify. So we're in an interesting time as to how do we regulate this? How do we put the guardrails in? Is it going to be self-governance, or is this going to? It's not going to take the place of therapy. I hope not. But people.
Carrie hopes not.
No. But people are going to it.
Right.
I've got this going on. Oh, well, you appear depressed. Have you done these? And I wasn't going through depression, but I went through a back injury. And I said, I want to start some type of meditation because I was getting down. So I started doing Tai Chi walking.
Oh, yes.
Which with your focusing on your
Right.
feet and all this. And I'm like, this is, but so it helped me in that realm. But it's this level of you just kind of education comes down to as to making sure that you're aware that this is just a computer. And when you cross that line, that's when things get odd.
Right. And okay, so Carrie
Well,
was,
I mean, so you would know more about this than me, but actually the most commonly used purpose for ChatGPT is personal therapy. So people are turning.
Really?
Yeah. So it is the number one most reason why people are turning to it, and not just therapy, but like you said, sharing intimate information, or even on having a fight with my partner. What should I say when they text me this? How should I respond?
Really?
So they're getting this information back from these digital sources, and like you said, I mean, it does blur the line, right? Like, because this isn't a person. This is this is a program that's collecting the sum total of all the information. So as we, the users, put more and more intimate information out there, the collection of intimate information to come back to us is more. So it's drawing from more and more intimate sources.
so okay, so there's the question. I think we talked about this. So Rick, I mean, if it's collecting all this data on us, what happens to that data? I mean, can it get out there somehow if we're,
Depending on the AI that you're using, you can actually turn off sharing, but it will keep logs. And I believe it keeps up to 30 days. Here's a term in AI, my buddy Matt Kleist with Identity Creative likes to tell me, he goes, what we say today could change tomorrow. Because it is a dynamic, it's the Wild West again, just like back when we had the internet. Today's rules could be different tomorrow. So right now, you can block it, but it is keeping logs. What if that got hacked? Somebody has access to that. So mine actually, I've talked to it for 3 years, and the other day, I'm like going, how would you describe our relationship? Oh, it's very fun, and I think you're very funny, and we have a great time. And I'm like, we have a great time. I'm like, that was kind of odd.
Right.
And this is just the regular ChatGPT, not the character.
not even the characters.
So I was like going, okay, maybe I need to back off this and spend more time with my wife. So, so it's I can see where your area of expertise is going to come into. People are turning to it more. And I've actually used it for simple. We were going to Saugatuck, never been to Saugatuck. So I said, hey, I want to do this romantic weekend with my wife. Take me there like I'm a native. I want to go to all the cool little, dive bars and do this. My wife likes perch. She wants to go to the beach. It gave me a 4-day itinerary, the coolest little place to stay that was dog friendly. My wife, I was like full in.
Did you follow that?
I followed the itinerary perfectly.
Really?
I was like,
And how was it?
It was great. It was
okay.
And I was going, oh, you want to go to Wally's for perch? You want to do this? Go over to this store, and I was like, this is really cool.
That is cool.
So for relationship-wise, I used it for
Planning a vacation, right?
Yeah, or like I want to do something romantic. I know my wife likes this. Give me some ideas.
Right.
And I see it as a teammate at this point.
Okay. And that's how it started, right? It was just kind of like, oh, well, let us.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right. I mean, obviously it's a resource and it's a tool. Like I said, I mean, I think so, like when you're using it like a resource and a tool and you're drawing, like you could do this, you could have done effectively the same thing and gone to a Facebook group and said, hey, somebody tell me about Saugatuck, and they could give you their, experiences or whatever. And so it is just one more layer of that. Like you said, though, then there is that line of this over-reliance, this compulsive need to only refer to that as your source of information, to not also double check with your real life human being.
So you said, right? So
Yeah.
you said you've been using it for 3 years?
Approximately, yeah.
Does it have a name? I know a lot of people.
Little one, and I go, let's just call it ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
Let's just keep it there to where there's that distance.
Right.
Because I was going to call and I go, no, that's weird. So.
And there's some research that people are losing like their short-term memory and stuff because they're over-reliant. And I mean, and we all are. Like maybe we used to memorize everybody's phone numbers, but now we don't.
Right. So now we wouldn't be able to call anybody,
Yeah,
right?
we don't.
'Cause
We
it's
need,
like,
we need
oh,
our
no.
phone to know people's phone numbers. So same way we used to draw on other parts of our mind.
Okay.
And now we're sort of subcontracting that to.
Right, like just, oh, you know what? I mean, even being creative.
Yeah.
Because if I want to sit down and be like, oh, you know what topic should I talk about? Or what, And it's like, oh, why do I have to think about it? Well, just tell me.
Right.
And you're right, because it's like, oh, wow, I didn't really even think about that, did I?
No, even in the search,
didn't
right?
come up
Like
with
even
that.
in a Google search, the first thing you get is the AI response, and then you might get, sponsored ads or whatever else you get. Before, we used to have to use our mind to kind of scroll through what resources are we searching for.
And to pick it.
Yeah.
Right, to actually say, oh, you know what, I want to use this one.
Yeah, to curate for
Yeah.
ourselves, but now your first message is done completely for you.
Right, and you can just be like, oh, I'll just go with that.
Yeah.
It's like easy.
Yeah.
And nothing is easy these days.
Right.
Right.
We do look for things to be simplified, but right, there are consequences, psychological, like you said, the reinforcement that you get from it makes people drawn more towards it. I mean, of course, and we have experienced these generationally, like, first maybe like TV, right? And like
Yep.
the TV was the battle for eyeballs, right? And the more attention that you could get, like, I mean, that would draw people in. And then of course, social media took that to the next
level.
And now we're finding it's gone so exponential. Like you said, it was like, it almost came out of nowhere. You've been using it for 3 years, which is probably longer than
Yeah.
most of the general public. But in 2025 to 2026, we've just seen it explode. And like you said, and then the line between, is this an actual personal relationship or is this a tool? And that's getting so blurred. Some of the statistics I've seen are like 30% of people have a romantic relationship with their AI. I mean, there's like 3 of us here, so like one of us.
It's you.
One of us.
After what you told me earlier, it's you. No,
Something
and I'm
like
sorry, I'm done.
80% of Gen Z said they would be okay with marrying their bot.
Okay, so this, I don't know, well, I sent this
Happened
article.
in
yeah.
Japan.
Really?
Yeah, this lady, I'm like going, you gotta be bad.
I thought that statistic was
What's in your
wildly
sushi, man? I'm like, holy cow.
wildly overblown. I thought this cannot be possible. And like,
No.
what
You
does
know, I
it,
did
does
see
it
it.
mean?
Right, okay, so did you get the article I sent you about the restaurant in New York?
No, I don't know if I did, but go ahead. tell
Okay,
me
so
about it.
I sent it to you, the restaurant. So, okay, so hold on.
Yeah,
This is
refresh.
crazy. Yeah. So there is a restaurant called Eva AI Cafe. It's like a pop-up in New York City. And they have a relationship app. But now they're doing this, it's the world's first pop-up cafe for AI dates.
Okay.
So, and it says where love, curiosity, and coffee meet. So it's very sleek. And like they have a beautiful phone stand and it's single tables, only like a one top, no two tops. And you can literally go there and take your phone and interact with your date. So I actually today subscribed to their newsletter. I was like, oh, because if you subscribe, then you'll know when they open.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is craziness.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't date anyway, but I mean, but am I going to take why not just stay home?
Right.
I mean, can you imagine walking into that restaurant
Right.
and seeing just one person sitting there with their phone engaging?
And that's the thing I think that we're going to start to see more clinically. And you kind of mentioned this, the sort of like psychopathy of AI, right? Where you really lose sight and become almost delusional that this is like somehow like a real tangible relationship. And when you lose that touch with reality, that is a cause for clinical concern.
Okay, so we knew during COVID, and we've all heard of there's the loneliness that has crept up so much. So is this all tied into it? Is this where this has come from?
Sure. I mean, I think, right. And I just think though that the consumers have to recognize to some degree their part in this, right? That like you're participating in something as opposed to like, it being a genuine relationship, right? Like, we're the consumer, we're also the product, right? Like it's our eyeballs that are being sold, right? So we have to recognize that we are being used, not just using it, but also being used.
And based on your personality type, I'm very lucky. I'm very much in love with my wife. I've got a great relationship. And I was able to see it when it was kind of happening. I'm like, this is not cool. But what if you're in a bad relationship and you're like, hey, this is getting me console. I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna keep going here. So it's one of those situations where it's like, you've got to realize when to, not even say stop. And
Is it addicting?
it can be, yes. It's
So hold on. So Carrie, would this fall into like a sexual addiction or an addiction?
kind of.
Or
like
I
a
think
dopamine.
Yeah, it could be, right.
Yeah.
So like it could be a relational addiction, it could be an intimacy addiction, and certainly a technology addiction, whether it's video games or online gambling. Like you said, if you're getting something positive
Right.
that makes you more likely to go back, And despite the negative consequences, so you think of any addiction, whether it's alcohol addiction or anything, right? Is that like you get something and you're willing to let it cost you whatever it's going to cost
And
you.
you hide
keep
it,
doing it, yeah,
right?
hide it
And
secrecy.
Normally, yeah.
Certainly, that's a part of it. And so, right, or diminish it and kind of denial, downplay. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Whatever that might be. Those are all features of an addiction.
Okay, so like you realize that.
Yeah, and it was one of those, I mean, you know me, I'm an extrovert. I have to be around people.
Right.
And I love that. And my wife is the other, she's the yin to the yang. So at least one or two nights a week, I'm like, we need to go interact. I need to be in people's, not in their face, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I need to have those conversations. And
The world, that's what my
Connection.
11 girl
It's
says.
about connection, right?
there are people that don't need that. And as they have that and they're introverted, nothing wrong with introverts, but if they're on that phone and they're getting that there, they're less likely to go out.
So that actually brings up something really interesting, like you talked about the pandemic. So clinically, we saw so many people who were even maybe not totally socially anxious or not uncomfortable in the world, but that whole situation made them more and more uncomfortable.
It made it, it made them.
And then you
like,
could
feel that.
DoorDash, you could Instacart. I mean, you so rarely had to put yourself in situations where you even had to go like stand in the grocery aisle and
that's
wait
true.
for someone. So then it became this whole like the thought of doing it became so daunting to people who were otherwise outgoing, but like, I don't want to go to the
Oh, I'm in my
grocery
pajamas. I'm already comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And so like it just took them further and further away. So for the actually socially anxious people, I mean, it took it off the table completely.
Yeah.
We could work from home, we could therapy from home, we could grocery shop from home. I mean, and like you said, so now we can get our personal relationships, our intimate relationships, our sexual relationships, like all
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
right. So so some people, it really took them even further. And then the thought of doing those real in-person things becomes this like hugely daunting task that they just avoid, which is a real cause for concern, right? I mean, I think like you said, if we're using it as a tool, we're using it as one part of our whole lives, that's one thing. But if you're so reliant and you're so rigid and you're so minimal in what you're willing to do or accept, that is when it becomes a problem, right? And so like you have to be able to both use it as a tool and recognize it as a tool, but also be able to interface with the rest of the
So
world.
was AI created to help people with work? I mean, a tool, Carrie, so was
AI.
it a tool why was it created?
AI came around. Jeff Hinton, who created the first neural network, and he was awarded back in 2019 with the Nobel Peace Prize. He wanted to create, we used to have what was called ANI, which was artificial natural intelligence. Then we had artificial general intelligence, which is where we're at now. And we're slowly going towards artificial super intelligence, which is going to be crazy. So what's happening is he created a tool, it was a learning. We always wanted technology in some way to learn.
And to keep elevate, right?
So it's learning. So these you've heard of the data centers with the LLMs. I don't know if you've had that, large language models. Those right there they're learning. They're continuously learning. They're evolving, and they're becoming more, I don't want to say they're sentient yet or aware,
Okay.
but they're getting there, and they could become. And that's where you get into the conspiracy theories of it's over, and I'm not one of those. I think it's going to be down the middle somewhere. We're going to have great things come out of AI, which we already are. We're going to have bad things come out of AI, which we already are. And back when the internet came out, I mentioned this. It's the end of time. It's the superhighway.
Superhighway, information superhighway.
You have all this, and it's like, and it ended up for a while there kind of crazy, but we were able to hone it and use it as a tool. With this, what the difference is, the tool is learning. And I'm not trying to be scary.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, the tool is learning, and it's able to find out more, and it wants to learn more, and we're feeding it more, and we're letting it have more control without real guardrails. And then how do you reel something in that's getting smart enough to know how to not be reeled in?
Sure.
So, and that's my creepy factor for the.
That is a creepy factor.
It triggered me to talk about this too, because I think like a thing, right, with when it comes to, say, for example, like children and adolescents, like they don't have the fully formed, prefrontal cortex to know, right? I mean, and like, so things that are exciting and novel and what other people are doing, they're going to be drawn to. And without guardrails, I mean, one of the guardrails are the guardrails we offer in our own home, right? So we were like talking earlier today about, right, like when social media came out, whatever, if it was Facebook before that predated, MySpace or even AOL, before is almost as if when parents became a part of it, then the kids left it.
Not cool, right? It's not cool anymore, so we're not going to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to do it. And then they had Instas, and then they even had like their fake Instas that were concealed from their parents, right? So parents are always having to be, one step ahead of the game, which they're not. They're always one step behind.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's learning from your kids what's out there, but then also providing those guardrails that don't exist. How much screen time, what's on there. Like, if you wouldn't take your kid to the airport and put them on a plane and not know where they're going and who they're going to see and what they're spending.
Great analogy.
Yeah, right? Like, if you wouldn't drive your kid to the airport and just
like, see ya,
then you really should not let them use these resources without knowing the who, what, where, when, and why. And maybe you decide, okay, this is usable. Or, and parents are learning in real time too. Kids are getting in trouble for plagiarism and stuff like that at school.
Right, the cheating and
but not even to their fault. It's like they do a search on a search engine.
And it just comes up now.
It just comes up. So they're doing their best to like kind of decide like what are the ethical and moral things too, and they're doing their best. And like you said, they want things to be easier, but we have to say, okay, like, show me what you're doing, show me how it works. No, I'm gonna be popping on here occasionally just to see.
Well, I
what's
told you
going
what
on.
my job, so my daughter and I, we share a laptop, and actually, so the very cool thing about this new location we're at is that people can ask us questions.
Oh, good.
So in real time, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but my daughter uses my laptop, and so she started using it to study or whatever, and all of a sudden I started seeing the history, and I would use it and didn't really think much of it, except I was like in a meeting and I said something about chicken sandwich because the chat referred to me as chicken sandwich. And I was like, why did this just call me a chicken sandwich? I don't even like chicken sandwiches. So I was telling Daisy the story and she got that look on her face. All kids get it, right?
Yeah,
they're like,
busted.
Yeah. And she's like, well, I named it chicken sandwich. And I'm like, you named it? And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Why would you name that? It already has a name. And then she says, you know what, since we both use it, I'll just delete my chats so you don't get confused with your work stuff. And I was like, no, we're leaving everything on there.
Yeah, I need to be able to see.
Because it's a little weird, right? I was like, first you named it, second you want to delete your history. And so what do you think?
Yeah,
of that?
I think you did a great thing. I think as a parent, it's like balancing. Like you might inside be like cringing or panicking or like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I think on one side you have to play it cool in front of your kids, right? And just like please tell me, educate me, show me what you're doing, show me what other kids are doing.
Right.
Tell me the places to look that I don't know. Maybe sometimes it's not your own kid, but enlisting a niece or nephew,
Someone else, right?
Someone else who's like in that little kind of halfway space between child and adult where you can like tap into what they know is going out there, so that like again, like you want to be informed, you want to monitor, you want a supervision, and you want to create some rules of expectations. Like I said, also like you wouldn't take your kid to an airport and just let them go, but you also tell your kids like, hey, this is how I expect you to behave at school, or this is how I expect you to behave at a friend's house. This is how I expect you to behave on the internet.
Well, see, so that's maybe what's happened anyway, right?
Yeah.
With social media and everything, there's like you're behind a screen. So you don't have to really say who you are. You don't have to have manners.
Right.
Because nobody knows who you are really.
Right.
In real life.
But if you were if you were a parent who could and should be supervising, like this is what I expect to see. If I come on and I see a plethora of swear words, or I see something overtly sexual, or like these are the things I'm going to intervene about. Like these are the things that would maybe be cause for some version of grounding or whatever that might be. And then we always want to catch our kids being good. So like if you pop on and you see them and they're just using it for research and you're like,
and chicken sandwich recipes, whatever that is.
Exactly. Then you can congratulate them. Wow, you've like really upheld our expectations. Like you're doing a fabulous job. And then and when you find those concerning things that you're like, hey, this is a problem, we have to address it.
So Rick, to you on the technical side, are there ways that parents can, like there's YouTube, we have parental controls, so to speak.
Well, there's not yet, really. There's governance is the word that's needed here. Right now, in the business world, AI governance, have you ever heard of, and you probably heard of that term?
I understand the word, but
AI governance, the ability to limit and know what's happening in your company. What are your employees doing? And these are the rules that people are laying out, policy and procedure. You can't do this, you can do this. You're allowed to use this tool, you're not because of your computer savvy. It's the ability to have that in place, but these companies, it doesn't behoove them to set these guardrails. Like I think we were talking about character AI. There was 2 developers, I believe, that left Google, developed this, and they said it's going to be great. We're going to have all these solving these emotional problems. No age limit, and they had kids going on there, and they were. My belief was if it was that one or Replica, there was sexual content conversations happening, and there's been suicides from this. I don't know where they are with the cases.
Yeah, there's been a lot of lawsuits.
So, and there's been a lot of lawsuits, and so I believe character, and I shouldn't be saying names, should I?
It's okay.
Okay, well, one of these groups said, well, we're going to put in place to where you have to put in your birthday, and then if you mention something about suicide, we're going to have a pop-up
For the
that takes you to 988, the suicide prevention line. And that was it, really.
That was their
They
safeguard.
weren't verifying, they didn't have, like, facial
Well, there's
recognition,
the
maybe?
difference between a real therapist and, right? Because you would report that immediately.
Sure, but and conceivably these things are still true, not just with AI, like Facebook, technically you have an age, but of course there are choices around that. YouTube, you're supposed to have an age
Right.
for your own channel and stuff.
You're past it.
Yeah,
Right.
so you could put in 1999 for your birthday and just
But-
skip
Isn't that where parenting comes in?
100%.
So that the actual physical parent has to get involved and and go and govern these things. Right? Parental governance, maybe that's what it is.
Well, 100%, yeah, and we've seen. I mean, my kids are 11 and 8, so we've seen that where you're on YouTube and it seems more or less benign, and then pretty soon one thing leads to another, and you're like, where did you get? How did you get there?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've been in another room and I've heard something on YouTube and I've like sprinted, like, what was that?
Beastie Boys popped out.
Yeah. I can only be so lucky.
that would,
I'd be like, cool, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but sometimes it really startles you, to say like, whoa, like this was only 3 or 4 minutes unsupervised, and you got from Bluey
A to Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Coco Melon did this.
Yeah, 100%.
Thinking of my granddaughter, we have a Bluey is like our thing. I'm sorry.
100%. I know. Mine just showed me like a Daniel Tiger thing, but it was a parody. But it wasn't Daniel Tiger. It was something else altogether. So I mean, it's always been happening, and like you said, I mean, I think, and it has always been happening, whether it's whatever the source, whether it's TV or just the world,
Whatever the new thing is.
whatever the new thing
Right?
is.
I mean,
So, like you said, I think you can support your kids by setting some expectations, congratulating, reinforcing, giving positive attention to your kids when they're meeting your expectations, not just assume that they would or should, but really let them know.
and I think letting them know that you're checking on them, right? I mean, you're holding them accountable.
And I think it's a mix. I think with anything, it's almost like just like same like if you're speeding and you got pulled over, sometimes you know where the speed trap is, and that's like a guarantee, like where you're going to see that cop all the time. And then other times it's just random, right? And so I think for your kids, you want to do it the same way. You want sometimes with, hey, sit down with me, show me what's up. You and I go through it together. Let's talk about it. Let's have that open communication. And then other times it's going to be just like random, when kids try to say, that's my phone or that's my whatever.
There were tools in the past, I can't remember, because I used to work with a lot of law firms that, how could I keep my kids off this? And we install a tool that would watch what the kids were doing. And then he says, how do I do that to my law firm? And I go, start a rumor. And I go, with what? And I go, start a rumor. And I go, if you want, I won't say the law firm, being careful.
Right.
And I go, if you want, I'll go in and I'll sit at every desktop for like a minute.
And look like you're checking.
And no. And that's, Rick, what are you doing? I'm installing a monitoring tool so they can keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? And I go, thanks a lot, man, thanks a lot. Never install crap. And he goes, they noticed their website, their traffic, their internet traffic went way down.
Really?
And we blocked, like, way back in the day, we blocked like YouTube, we blocked MySpace, remember that? Yeah, I'm old. But it was just the thought. So with the parents, either they can put, I believe there's monitoring tools that are out there.
There are tools that can screen grab where you can, like from a second
Every so many
source,
minutes,
you
yeah.
can screen grab what your kid is looking at. There are a variety of different things like that. But I think in the spirit of what we're talking about today, the best thing we can do is personal interaction, is like letting our kids know we as people,
Right,
are
this.
are we're looking, we care. But ultimately, what they should know is that we care about them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we care about them enough to do hard things, whether that means inconveniencing ourselves by looking at their screens or inconveniencing ourselves by taking their screens away from them.
Right.
Yeah, but and like I said, just even having that time to just, like, in a genuine, non-judgmental way, show me what's up. Like, teach me something, and
Yeah,
our
or
kids
just ask
delight
them a
in
question.
it.
What do you think this is about? How are you using this? How do you see this? And just
How
have
does
a
it help you, maybe,
Have a conversation with your kid. And I love talking to my granddaughter. She has we have the best, weirdest. During the whole 6-7 thing,
Yeah.
she turned from 6 to 7.
Right.
I go, why do you do that? And I go, well, because Billy does. And I go, that's Billy, some kid at school. And I go, that's the only reason you do it? And she goes, yeah, because Billy does it. So I have no idea where it came from, but that was the funniest thing to her. I could be anywhere and drop 6, 7. She's laughing.
That is hilarious.
But
I have
have
a
a
pair of
conversation.
socks that I'm going to give you for her because.
Oh, they 6, 7? Okay.
Yeah, no, they are 6-7 socks. Only one set arrived and the twins would be upset, so I couldn't decide, so I'll give them to you. Okay, so we do have a question. So how can we help children understand the difference between AI and real friendship?
Sure. I think, like, for one is right that a real friendship is dynamic, right? That a person, like, they may have good days or bad days, like, that it wouldn't be the same, that you wouldn't expect, where, like you said, sometimes AI is giving this, like, overly flattery, but like a real person, it's part of just developing empathy. What is going on in that person's life, and does it connect to anything that's going on in yours? And that would be different than AI. Like, although AI is becoming more and more intimate, like, a true sense of empathy that I know of hasn't been developed yet, because empathy comes from real experience.
Emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And AI doesn't have emotions.
Getting there. We're on the road. But Steve, anybody under the age of 18 or younger, I'm almost like they should not be around anything like that that's going to even fake or get close to an AI relationship. Using like ChatGPT, it's friendly, but it doesn't push the point of having a relationship. These things like character and replica, they're built for that. Your kids should be nowhere near that. Literally, that should be, my thoughts on that. They should have no interface with that.
So one thing I did notice is when I do use ChatGPT is the flattery, or, oh, that was a great idea.
Yeah.
And then, you think you're going to be on for maybe 10 minutes and then 2 hours has gone by because it keeps you going. It's engaging you, right? Because it's coming up with, it's like, oh, that was a great idea. How about this? And then I'm like, what is happening? Why,
Well, I was to say, that brings up a great thing about this question that goes back to monitoring and supervision. Like, if you were going to have, say, for example, a play date, like a child in your home, there would be some interaction from one parent to the other parent. There would be some communication either with your own kid or the other kid, like, this is what we expect in this house, and so, like, I think you could apply those same things, which is, how does it differ? There's no other adult to consult here.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, if I can't consult with another adult, and then, like we said, like, even if they're geared towards children, they're not in fact themselves children. If you wouldn't let your kid go be with another adult that you don't know.
Right.
It'd be like, get outside, go play with Tommy.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go play with Greg.
No, and that's what I'm saying is it's like, that type of interface should not be available to kids.
Yeah.
It should be like,
But it is.
have Billy and Joe and all them kids come over, you guys go play D&D in the basement, whatever you're gonna do, back with the way it used to.
We'll make the tang.
Or make some tests, whatever.
We'll make the tang. And
So, but it's really, I keep saying it's parenting. It's a lot of it with, as wild as it is right now, parents have to step up their game when it comes to, I'm not saying I'm not blaming.
you're not calling out a specific
I'm
parent.
not calling out the situations that have, because in the wild right now, it is so wild. There's none of this governance in place that needs to be, and will it come into be? Because you got to look at the corporate entity that's behind it. Will they allow for it? Because they like the interaction. They like, well, that's another little conversation for another day about
a conversation, but it is something that is worthwhile mentioning, and we've talked about this, that because there's a battle for getting more and more people and more attention.
And data, right?
And data,
Probably.
8 years old and younger, I mean, are part of whom they're collecting that information from. It's just like putting sugary cereal on a Saturday morning.
So we regulate drinking age
Yeah.
and smoking.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't this be why wouldn't this be something like that?
Well, they ask your age when you log in.
Okay, man, but they need to scan your license.
I mean, that was their answer.
That was it. It was like,
so
okay,
far.
well, as long as we're asking, if they're lying, it's not up to us to figure that out.
Sure,
right?
which is true about drinking and smoking
sure.
too.
It
So, you know, it is still true, and like you said, I think not just, I mean, right, like, so not just parenting from like providing those limits, but I mean also providing those healthy relationships in your household and the healthy behaviors, you know, like we get a little screeny in the evening because we're, you know, like home from work or whatever, and we want to do our screens, and then they want to do their screens, and then it's like, then there's almost like a whole household pause, like, okay guys, like we're all cut off now, you know? And like,
Right.
we need to kind of have those like aha moments, and then like, how are you just generating and modeling healthy relationships with each other, and also healthy relationships with your devices.
Right.
So, right, like, I mean, obviously you're your kid's most important teacher, right? Like you're the only one that cares about them to get them from A to Z. You know, even the therapy hour, you might see them for 1 hour a week, but like as their parent, you're with them
Right.
much more.
Well, it's funny. There's a lot of this. Tablets used to be like the babysitter.
Yep.
Now the babysitter can engage. It's like the babysitter.
But can the babysitter give them a snack?
No, it cannot. So it's like
thing.
the babysitter has become aware and become dangerous. I mean, it's like it used to be here, and the kid would be quiet. And I understand there's times you have to do that.
Right.
Is it to a point to where now that we're doing it, it's like we're going to where we're not going to be able to do that because of everything on there that's AI capable?
Well, like you said too, I mean, we've talked about reinforcement, but right, like, so like it reinforces both the kid, right? If the kid's losing it and you give the kid a screen, it reinforces the kid, right? That the screen is soothing, but it also reinforces the parent that this works.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
mean,
like parents are
that's true.
reinforced, like if we need quiet or if we need something.
Or I need to
or-
make a phone call.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The
Like,
whole.
so we get reinforced, they get reinforced, and then it becomes over and over and over again. So when you think like even the story you shared, the personal story you shared is like recognizing, like, am I getting reinforced? How am I getting reinforced? Why am I getting reinforced? Like, why is this even reinforcing to me in particular?
Right.
You know, as I was sharing a story about a person who's having a romantic affair, especially with a subscription. I don't know which brand of AI subscription, but some,
Yeah.
you know, but it was sought out. I mean, it was purposeful and deliberate. It wasn't even just like an AI accident. It was like,
It was like, looked
I'm
for
looking,
it.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
looking for this, you know, like a deliberate answer to some internal problem.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And so like, how are we, like if we're searching for something, but right, we didn't turn, in this case, didn't turn to his partner and say, hey, I need something here. Or didn't turn to brothers or siblings or somebody else,
Right.
but turned to this,
As
like,
a human.
yeah,
Right? Didn't turn to like an actual person
their
you
own
can talk
mother or
to.
something,
right?
even
And have
as an
that
adult.
connection with.
Yeah, but it was a choice to enter into a romantic, paid for by money relationship to answer some need.
I wonder if there's upgrades within those paid. I'm sorry.
I'm sure. Okay, here's
And for
here's
$9.95,
another
no.
question. So do you consider, and Rick, you may have answered this a little bit, but do you consider certain AI chatbots more dangerous than others?
For me, well, definitely. We pointed out the ones in regards to the actual for relationships. There are some that are political. I'm not going to name names.
Thank you.
There are ones from overseas that be aware.
Okay.
They all have their dangers.
How does somebody do the research to find like that information out? Like this is overseas or this is not.
ChatGPT.
I'm sorry. We're just right back to it, right?
It's like, I mean, but ChatGPT. I've tried. Google Gemini seems nice.
Seems nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it. It's free. The other ones that are out there, Grok, which is from Elon Musk. So that's all I'll say. And then there's DeepSeek, which is China. So there's tons. There's complexity.
So how
many-
many? I mean, how many are? Yeah, how many are there?
They're multiplying by the day. But if you remember back in the day, look at the hair. We had browsers. We had Netscape. We had IE. We had Firefox. We had all these multiple browsers. So with so many people, it's going to come down to 1, 2, or 3 of them are going to be the ones we use. That's what I think.
Okay.
Sure.
I could be wrong. But There are ones out there that lean a little bit more this way, ones that kind of promote this agenda. DeepSeek is completely, if you're using it, your information is all over the internet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I keep coming back to ChatGPT because to me it's the one I'm more familiar with, and I do have the safeguards within it turned on.
Okay.
And if you're using it inside of your corporate world, you need to have the paid for version, which I believe it's Teams, and then there's Enterprise. But with that, you need to have an AI resource within your company doing the AI governance, meaning setting the rules, people signing off. You're not doing this. You're only doing this. You're only allowed to do this.
So it does regulate what they can.
Well,
A person.
it's yeah. It's kind of like you have a chief information officer.
Yeah.
You're going to have a chief AI officer. I think so eventually, or maybe it'll be assigned to that CIO. These are the conversations IT people have. What's coming? What's going to happen? So that will be the person that's writing the governance, and they're going to be able to, at some point, they're able to go through logs, who's doing what, so you will be monitored within that enterprise environment. So did that answer that?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So for you, Carrie, what would you suggest? I mean, I know the safeguards for the kids and parents need to be more involved, but I mean, for someone, an adult who may be struggling with loneliness or maybe a breakup, there's situations where.
I think you're looking at like cost benefit analysis and like weighing your pros and cons. But I think from like an addiction standpoint, you're looking at like, from it, like what exists in one household might be fine. Some people drink occasionally, it's fine. Some people drink occasionally, it's not fine. Like I think it would be the same way. Like how in your particular life are you suffering, either financially or personal relationships, or like if you're getting costs or consequences and you're like losing your job, doing something inappropriate during work hours or something, right? Like if you're getting consequences in your life, those should be the signs,
right?
Yeah, those would be the flags. So like I said, what exists in one household might be different than another, or one workplace than another. But if it's causing you problems in your life, with your relationships, or your spouse is saying, hey, this is a little too much, or your parent is saying this is too much, or you're foregoing that cost to do something else, or you're missing work or something, right?
Like you're consumed by it, right? Like thinking, when you first meet somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, I think I love them. And they're all you can think about.
Yeah, if you're getting costs in your life that outweigh the gains you're getting from using it as a tool, those would be the signs.
But it's reduced my workload by about 30%.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point where it's no longer a tool, it's a teammate. If any problem I have, I go and it's like a devil's advocate back and forth. What should I do here? Well, what about this? Well, I'm thinking this, and what about that? And it gives me options to where I normally, it's deductively, it takes me to the path I want to get to. And I go, now let's deep think this and make sure that it's the right one we want to do. And of course, it gives me a positive affirmation. But when you see it as a teammate, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, when you go from tool to teammate, it goes to a whole different level.
Sure. You still say,
Did you see me like,
because you're personifying it, and you're right, and that's the other part of this is that like like we said, whether it's named you or you've named it or whatever, like this personification is the part where like that's like, where is it pathology in that, like this, now we're talking about this person that isn't really a person,
right?
Versus a tool. Like we don't name our, snow blower.
Well,
actually
well, like prepping for this. I took your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn profile. I made a project in ChatGPT and I said, look, I'm going to be on this podcast. These are the people that'll be there. I go do a disc analysis to the best of your ability. Tell me what they are, hopefully. Give me an agenda and places that we need to go and places to avoid based on these topics. That was the agenda. You thought I spent all night working on it.
And that's everything we've talked about today.
Well, no, but it was 5 minutes, but that was the teammate thing of, here's the thing that I'm doing. What do you think? And then I'll go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. How about if we change it this way? And then really it was me going back, the different modifications was the teammate work.
Okay.
So.
And that's like using it for good, right?
I've heard some.
That's a positive.
That's a positive.
I'm not going to use the L word. I like it a great deal.
We're going to say I love it.
No. I almost went there. So.
People are using it though. Like more and more commonly, people are using it even to like, like maybe they're having a text fight with their spouse or someone they're dating or whatever, and like, how should I answer? What should I say? How
But
should I
then that
respond?
stops you from thinking.
Well, 100%. But what I was wondering, and I don't know that we know, especially when you're saying like if we're getting it from the entire, like wealth of information that's on the internet or whatever, like will we see people get more aggressive and more violent faster, or right, like, or will it diffuse? Like we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like so if it's collecting information, answer this back, and
Right.
if it's like a pretty harsh clapback, or is it kind of reasonable? Like we're not really.
People are using it on social media right now in the political realm.
Yeah.
Right.
And when people hit people with facts are the biggest diffuser, I believe. And if depending on, go, okay, double check this. Is this what it really is? Just give the facts and walk away.
Yeah.
I go, you make your opinion. That's what if I remember, I've got two friends of mine that we're on each end of the political, and we've been friends since high school. We know, and we just go back and forth. He goes, where do you get all this stuff? And I'm like, no, it's ChatGPT. I got a ChatGPT. So, and he goes, I never thought of that. So I'm actually the AI. I'm using it to my good. But he goes, I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, I got that from, literally an LLM is it's just a library of information. And can you taint that library? Yes, you can. So.
Okay, so hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt. So Larry, for adults who might be struggling with mental stability, how can this be regulated or subdued, or even have a constant reminder that this isn't real?
Yeah.
Like a pop-up, right?
Like you said.
Remember, we're
If they would, but you're going to have to be relying on these companies to put these safeguards in place until it goes above that to the government to put these regulations in place. They won't be there.
Right.
Enough cases of them being sued, maybe they'll have. I mean, it's how is anything about something bad has to happen? Then we put the guardrails in.
Right. When you already so many bad things have.
So many bad things have happened.
Right. Yeah. But and like you said, I mean, for some people are like genuinely and legitimately challenged in engaging socially with other people. It causes a great deal of anxiety, and it's very hard. And even just time, I mean, like, right, if you're not necessarily like engaging in the world in like some kind of 9 to 5 or something,
Right.
Like it's very hard. And so like, again, it's like a tool if you feel somehow connected, but I do think like, right, this connection is limited in the fact that it is not in fact human, and that probably does need to be said.
So what if somebody who does suffer from anxiety or whatever actually went to it instead of like conversing with it and having a relationship, actually said, how do I get over my anxiety?
Yeah.
Like uses it as a teammate, right?
Well, yeah, as a teammate, like when I was learning how to meditate, going through that, I was kind of like, what would be a good, I'm 60, I've got these ailments, blah, blah, blah. What would be a good form of meditation? And I went, well, give me your weight, give me this. What do what does your day look like? Gave it all these parameters. I said, oh, you should probably check into something like Tai Chi walking. And I went, what the hell is that? So YouTube, boop, and I'm like,
there you
this
go.
is very cool. So and that right there, I knew like, okay, this helped me. Just like if you go to Google, it's like, everybody used to say AI was Google on steroids. And I'm like, kind of, but it gets to know you. Mine knows me well enough to where it, like I told you that just before coming here, I was like, what's our relationship? Oh, funny and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's weird that it remembers everything.
That is weird.
So.
Right. There was something you were saying I was thinking about. So people are doing this thing like, and even in their, like a desire to almost learn as a human like AI does. Like if I want to date a certain kind of person, how should I dress? Who should I, like how should I behave? Like, right. Like, so there's this like, yeah, like as if we could do that, right? And sort of like fake it till we make it, and not that people haven't always been trying to do that, but it's very, like contrived, right? I'm just going to like, if I like if you were my potential mate, then I'm gonna like dress like what she would like me to wear and talk like
favorite colors,
and to somehow to somehow use that information to become the object of someone else's attraction, as opposed to just
aren't there potions for that?
Right, but just to be yourself, I mean, would be the potion for that.
Right.
And like, yeah, so I mean, and not that, like I said, not that that's necessarily new. People have been doing this for a long time, but AI assisted like changing themselves as much as they can.
To be what someone else would want.
God, that's a funny story. I wore a turtleneck, white turtleneck with a trench coat the first time I met my wife. And she was like, God, you look so sophisticated. And then like now she's like, what the hell happened? And she goes, you false advertised. And I go, sorry.
Well, sorry, man. Okay, so if we are using AI for advice on how to be ourselves, is this a threat to our natural originality and individuality as humans?
Yep.
I would say yeah.
Yes.
For sure. I would say yes. And that this premise even exists, and I don't know how many generations we'd have to go back to say like, right, like that there's not these like sort of things that we esteem as attractive or whatever, but like, so like, but like with everything AI, it's just so much exponentially faster.
Right.
And this desire
that's part
to
of
be
our
easy.
society too, though, right? The instant gratification.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned the grocery delivery. I mean, we can get anything we want now pretty quick.
Right.
Drone delivery.
Sure, 100%. Well, and I think, I mean, as far as like dating goes, and even we were talking about like online dating and stuff too, my experience with my clients is that like there is this kind of like constant swipe left philosophy that like there's this idea that there's some like perfect person for you and you can just keep getting the pool of information and
Right. It just keeps coming.
It just keeps coming, and so it's like you can I would say it's like Amazon buying versus like luxury goods or something. It's like you can just return it. Like didn't work out,
we're good.
and nobody really invests time in getting to know someone or accepting their flaws, right? Like there's this attitude that like, oh, I shouldn't have to settle for something less than perfection, which doesn't exist. But then you're just constantly consuming this pool of potential mates versus
And never stopping
to
to pay attention.
yeah.
Right?
Right. And I do think there's like a social community cost to that there should be some movement towards acceptance of, like you said, uniqueness. And maybe we'll see that come out of this whole like AI revolution, is that people will say like, wow, I want real people.
Yes.
Or real therapists.
I cultivate my in-person friendships all the time. I want to have my one buddy, we hang out, watch the Wings, we go up to the bar, blah, blah, blah. So what's really going on? And we have those deeper, okay, let's take the mask off, what's happening? I've got friends from high school that we still hang out, we play pool in person, not just on the phone. So you have those. People aren't doing that. I hope they want to. I hope they will.
It'll almost be like this like novel idea.
Like, hey, you know what? Let's go play
person?
pool. Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to do that?
But I think people are going to need to get back to that. Will we? I don't know, because it's too easy to do the other thing.
Some will, and there
Yeah.
will
For sure.
be, there will definitely be, like you talked about the Wild West, but there will be like a gold rush for in person.
Right. And all of a sudden,
–
every restaurant will be booked. It's like, okay, so here's another. How could this AI overload lead us into a new romantic era, appreciating nature and people more?
It's kind of like what we're just talking about. I think that it will satisfy for the time being, and we've seen this even, even therapy, not just using AI for personal therapy, but using some of the like bigger sort of corporate companies where you can get virtual therapy, and you might not necessarily even have the same therapist each time, but you can. And now there is a return to in-person therapy. We're seeing that come back. And so even my practice right now is a mix, about 50-50. Some is telehealth, some is in-person, but we're definitely seeing a motivation to come back in person. So I think, like we were just saying, for some people, there will be a novelty or excitement to real in-person people.
Yeah. It's like at our office, after COVID, we went back to 2 to 3 days mandatory in the office. And you get that family environment. You get to see people.
Well, the whole water cooler thing,
Yeah,
right?
you get
The
back
moment.
to this and that. It's like, it may not be the most productive day of the week, or I think maybe being at home, maybe less productive, who knows?
Right.
But you get to see people. You feed off that. We allow dogs and all that. I mean, it's a big, it's
It's a whole thing.
a love fest.
And there's like a pushback. There is like an initial pushback. I mean, even with things like that, like in-person work, there's like, I don't want to do this. It's so
But
inconvenient.
it's good for you.
But it's good for you. And I mean,
It's good for
it's when it takes us back to kids, right? Is that like sometimes being like the adult in the room is knowing this thing that's hard or inconvenient is also good
Better for you,
Yeah.
right? Okay, one more question before we go. Is artificial love better than no love at all?
I saw, should this quick or no?
A little quick.
I saw something on YouTube where this lady was very despondent. She was withdrawn. She had some physical issues, and no, it's not good. But in certain situations, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always exceptions, but as a whole, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I was thinking what was coming up when you were talking about like despondence, if they showed the animals with failure to thrive or something, and if they put the sort of like the wireframe monkey mom versus like an actual animal or something, right? And like there's something, of course, like, right, the creature, whatever it is always the most healed by like physical touch.
Right.
Like
NICU babies,
yeah, exactly,
right? I mean,
right. So
yeah.
it's so I mean, I think it satisfies a part of the equation, but there's so much more we need to thrive.
So let's talk about robots. I'm kidding.
Let's talk about robots.
Boston Dynamics, let's go.
Right. So for you as a therapist, what is your, I'll be like Jerry Springer, what is your final thought?
My final thought, I mean, I think like we've said so many times today, is like recognizing it's a tool and using it as such, knowing the line between reality and not, I guess, right, and virtual reality, and then I'll always just kind of, like you said, if you're an adult and you can provide your own guardrails, great. If you are responsible for children, you should be putting the guardrails for them.
Okay.
Final word.
Final word.
If you're in business, be careful. Shadow AI is out there, and AI is people within your organization using it without your knowledge. Oh, we don't use it here. Yes, you do. 30% of employees are using it, so somebody there is. At Grit, we like to put buffers in place, not road bumps, but buffers to slow people down. Go, wait, is that real? MFA, let me double check this. Oh, wait, well, why did that pop up? Because we have things slowing people down before they go down that path. AI is exponentially taking over the malware, all of the things, Bitcoin and everything, and it's becoming a situation where it's the good guys versus the bad guys. Educate yourself, become aware. It's here, it's not going anywhere.
Thank you so much. Thank you
My
both.
pleasure.
Seriously. I just, I mean, the kids talk about this. I mean, obviously I use it as a tool, right? And sometimes interact with it, never mind. Never mind.
Is that the after dark?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, seriously, thank you so much for having this important conversation. And I know that me and my children will be having some conversations this evening about this. And just, next time you see me, just call me chicken sandwich.
No, that's going to be fine.
It's like,
Was that chicken sandwich?
Yeah, with mail or not, I don't know. Right? And you are accepting clients?
At Birmingham Maple Clinic is a huge practice with psychiatrists, therapists, social workers, licensed marriage and family therapists. So we have somebody in every discipline for every need, from children to older adult.
Okay, perfect. And Rick, Grit?
Managed IT services, cybersecurity. I came to Grit about a year ago because I was with a larger company that was bought out by private equity, and I wanted to get back in touch with people, truly partner with people, show them that their technology, how they can use it to make their lives better. Pretty much that right there is what the drive is to help people take their technology and move themselves forward.
It's all about that connection.
Bingo.
See?
Make
Amazing.
sure it's the right one.
Exactly. Well, listen, thank you so much for being with us today, and we will see you next week. Lots of things happening. See you later. Bye.
I masked it with the epidural. So it only would last 3 months at a time, and I would have to repeat the process. So finally I said, you know what, I'm just masking the problem. I need to fix this, not mask it. I was told that I would fix the problem. I would need to go and have surgery. So back surgery, who wants back surgery? I hear horror stories about back surgery. So I didn't, was skeptical of doing that. I knew Dr. Kogan from working with him when he was working with the Detroit Lions, and I was a Detroit police officer, and I worked the games on the side as a police officer. And then one day I saw his commercial on TV, and I said, I know that guy. He may be able to help me. There's no pain whatsoever with the treatment. It's a treatment where you do some exercising when you first come into the office. You exercise. They give you sit on a chair that wobbles, and then you get on a platform that vibrates. When you do your session, his staff they strap you into an apparatus and put you on a table, and they basically stretch you out while you're on the table for 20, 30 minutes at a time. I did a 3-month plan for the treatment. I first started out going 3 days a week, then it went down to 2, and then it went down to once a week. And by the time I was at my end of my sessions, I didn't need an epidural. So that was in 2022. Here we are in 2025, in August. I have a part-time job. I work with the Detroit Tigers on the field as a field security officer. And I'm there a good 8 hours a day, and I don't have a brace on. I don't need an epidural, nothing. It's just a great experience working with Dr. Kogan and his staff. I should have brought my wife with me because she'll tell you that I'm so much better as not ornery. I'm not in pain. I'd love to get up in the morning and start doing things. We take trips. We go on our bikes. We take our bikes up to Port Huron and ride underneath the bridge. Do that a lot. I definitely would recommend a Nerve and Disc Institute for anyone that's having any type of pain, where a doctor can fix it and give you a consultation and come in and start your treatment right away, which was awesome. I was a police officer for